Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us. Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for all of your purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we're discussing the IWC Portuguese 7-day. So this is the Portuguese automatic 7-day. The reference 5007-03, this model in steel, launched in 2015. You can see it is 42.3 millimeters in diameter. It is 50.1 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and it is 14.3 millimeters thick with a broad 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. It does fit, but it's a big watch. I'm going to recommend your wrist be my size or larger to wear this. It's not as big as a Portugieser perpetual calendar, or at least most of them, and it's not as big as a big pilot's watch, but it is big. And you can see the down the barrel shot revealing I don't have a whole lot of additional clearance before these lugs overlap my wrist. It will fit underneath a jacket cuff, just probably not the tightest of dress sleeves. The strap, we have medium rectangular scale alligator leather and a semi-gloss finish. There's some bolstering to give the strap volume, a monotone stitch, a curved spring bar so the lugs can be drilled close to the case, but there's no impingement or impediment to the motion of the strap due to the curved spring bar. We've got a shear cut edge that's lacquered for refinement, calfskin on the bottom. This is a brand new IWC factory strap. We have a buckle, a folding clasp, with satin and polish externally, and then inside you can see polish and media blast. It is a friction fit clasp, so it snaps shut. You can see it buckles onto the strap to make it less likely that you will drop your watch while donning or removing it at bedside each day. We have the IWC Portugieser crown, the motto of the brand, a good solid watch made in Schaffhausen. We have very Portugieser style blended integrated lugs polished on their top, blended into the case band with a longitudinal satin. You can see a pre-owned watch that has not been refinished. We like to keep the metal intact and the factory finish whenever we can. We leave it up to you whether to refinish. We're going to keep this watch the way it is. You can see that the bezel has a vertical face and then a concave profile to visually thin the watch. There's a little bit of a domed camber to the sapphire. Very Portuguese-like, several of these features here, including the small seconds, leaf hands, the chemin de fer, or the railroad track minutes outboard, the vertically arrayed Arabic numerals, the original Portugieser or Portuguese, a commission by the Portuguese importers of IWC, Rodrigues and Teixeira. They wanted a watch that was worn on the wrist and purpose-built, but as accurate as a pocket watch. In the day, the only way to do that was to put a pocket watch movement in a purpose-built, oversized wristwatch, and thus the first ever purpose-built, oversized watch was born, reference 325. But it was very rare, although well-known among connoisseurs. The Portugieser was seldom delivered, only about 600 being made between 1939 and the revival of the model on a regular basis in the Jubilee year of 1993. So the first automatic Portugieser with this full-sized 7-day movement came in 2000. That one had a plexi crystal and no date. This is the more modern version of the dial with a date present. You can see we have these applied numerals and then little faceted indices outboard of them. There's a power reserve indicator that moves respectably quick. It's a 7-day reserve and it can wind itself, but you can also wind it yourself for the sake of fun. There's also a hacking or stop seconds function right there, so you can set the watch to a reference time. And then there is a quick set, so you can quickly and easily set the date if you wish to correct it. Plus, I should mention that the date disc is the same color as the dial. That's a mistake a lot of manufacturers make. They have a date disc that's a different color. IWC gets this right. You can also see there's an azurage or a concentric pattern within each of these sub-registers, and the hands are beautifully polished. Turn it all over. This was new for 2015 on the Portugiesers, the 52000 series movement. This is caliber 52010. It is large. It is properly the size of a pocket watch caliber. And if you're wondering just how large is it, 38.2 millimeters. This movement is bigger than a standard-sized Rolex Datejust. You've got a rose gold polished and media blasted medallion in the rotor, which is skeletonized. Big change for the 52000 series. 2 barrels. And the idea here is that you have a much flatter torque curve. The original 1-barrel version of this movement, in every one of its iterations, tended to really gallop and run fast when fully wound and start losing a lot of time in its last 48 hours of power reserve. And so the twin-barrel arrangement with the barrels in series and the mainspring torque curves phased makes for a much more regular watch through the full 7 days of power reserve. The bridge is also skeletonized, so you can see the lovely snailed ratchet wheels, coupling wheel, and barrel covers. They're actually quite good looking. Albert Peloton of IWC developed his eponymous bidirectional pawl-based winding system in the 40s. It was implemented in the 50s. It was hugely influential for its durability, its efficiency. It was the forerunner of every pawl-based winding system, including Seiko's late 50s magic lever. So this is the full zirconium oxide. It is ceramic. It uses no lubrication, and it creates no dirt on the movement, which was one of the few flaws of the Peloton system over the years. The ceramic version fixes that. Now you can see the movement has a full 4 hertz beat rate. The very first was 2.5 hertz, then it was stepped up to a 3 hertz or 6 beat per second rate. This is 8 beats per second, but it still uses an overcoil hairspring and 5 position adjustment. So in any position you have isochronous operation. 5 position, which you can see here, is the chronometer testing standard, and it's also the high horology standard. It's what's used here because the hairspring that's an overcoil centers the mass of the coil. It breathes concentrically in any position, so it's not inclined to gain or lose time depending on what position it's in. And it's free sprung with all adjustments done using variable inertia screws on the rim of the balance wheel itself. 31 joule movement, enormous, properly filling this large case back, water resistant down to 30 meters. The finishing is mechanical, but very handsome. It's definitely a worthwhile movement to see. This display case back is clearly warranted. 7 days of automatic winding power reserve, of course. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.